Okay, so let us take an opportunity to do a practice problem involving network effects. And this will also hopefully help us to understand some of the connections with the game theory concepts that you have seen before in the class, such as Nash equilibrium. So here we are going to be talking about network effects in terms of language. So remember that one of the examples that we had where talked about direct network effects was that if you are able to speak a language, then as more people are able to speak the language that you know, that is beneficial, right? So here we have a community of 1,000 people, and out of them, 600 are type A people whose native language is A, and 400 are type B people with native language B. So everybody knows their native language, but they may or may not know the language A. Okay. So initially, we are talking about a situation where everyone is able to speak and understand his or her native language. Native speaker of language A can learn language B at a personal cost of CA, which is greater than or equal to 0. And a native language speaker of language B can learn language A at a cost CB greater than or equal to 0. Okay. And the value of anyone being able to speak to and understand another person is 1 per person. And this includes the value to kind of like understand oneself as well. This is just done for ease of kind of like solving these problems, right? So if you are able to kind of like speak to, for example, people of your own language and you're type A, then your payoff is basically 600. So that is why we say that you are including yourself also in terms of the value. Okay. All right. So let's now answer some questions. So first question is, for what values of CA and CB would there be a Nash equilibrium in which nobody learned the other group's language? So we are going to solve this, but I encourage you at this point to pause the video and try and solve it yourself first. Okay, so let's look at how you would go about solving it. So remember, for Nash equilibrium, what we have to do is we first want to think about a situation where what happens if you learn the language and what happens if you do not learn the language, right? We have want to compare these situations and we want to think about, in which situation would you not want to unilaterally deviate. So one thing to note is that compared to the situation where you have been dealing with, so one complexity that you have here is that it's not about we are talking about 1%, 2%, or 3%, right? This is a much more complicated problem in the sense that you are talking about 1,000 people, and out of which 600 are of one type and 400 are of other type, right? So you have to think about Nash equilibrium in the context of all these 1,000 people, right? That might seem very complicated, but one way to simplify how to think about the problem is to imagine that if you think about it from one particular type A person's perspective, then the problem is actually same for each type A person. And similarly, the problem for one type B person is the same as the problem for all the other type Bs, right? So even though there are this 1,000 people out there, but all of the 600 people, if you think about it, are going to be making the same type of decisions, right? And the 400 people, the type B people, are also going to be making the same type of decisions. So that should help you to simplify the problem, right? Okay, so let's get back to this problem. So we are interested in finding out what would be a Nash equilibrium in which nobody learned each other's languages. So if you recall the definition of Nash equilibrium, what this means is that we are going to first look at the payoff where nobody is learning each other's language. And then we are going to see whether any unilateral deviations from the strategy of not knowing the language is going to lead to a higher payoff. If that does not lead to a higher payoff, then this is a Nash equilibrium, right? So what happens if nobody learns the other group's language? So that means that the type A people, they can only speak with only the type A, each of the type A people can only speak with other type A people, including oneself. So then the payoff to each of the type A person is 600, right? And similarly, the payoff to each type B person is 400 because they can speak to all the type B speakers, including themselves, right? So this is the payoff. Now, we want to make sure that there is no unilateral deviation. So suppose that one unilateral deviation is somebody from type A decided to language B, right? In this case, what would be that person's payoff become? So because that person has now kind of like learned language B, then that means that that person can communicate with 400 other type B people. So the payoff goes up to 1,000, right? Remember, because the value of being able to speak to another person is 1 per person, but that person also has to incur this cost of CA, right? So the payoff, the net payoff is 1,000 minus CA. And this initial situation where nobody's learning each other's languages would be a Nash equilibrium is if this unilateral deviation is not going to lead to a higher payoff, right? So that means that we require 1000 minus CA to be less than equal to 600, or if you simplify, that means that CA has to be greater than equal to 400. We also require that there should not be any unilateral deviation from type B people, right? Now, if type B people unilaterally deviated and decided to learn language A, then their payoff goes up to 1000, right? Because they can now communicate with 600 new people, right? But they have to incur a cost of this CB, right? So the net payoff is 1000 minus CB, and that has to be less than equal to 400 for nobody learning the language to be a Nash equilibrium, right? So again, you can solve this to show that this would imply CB has to be greater than equal to 600, right? So these are the two conditions that is required for nobody learning any other language apart from their native language to be a Nash equilibrium. Okay, so this is part one. All right, what about part two? So part two is saying that we want to think now about efficiency perspective. So an outcome in this context is said to be socially efficient if it maximizes total benefits minus total cost, right? Now the question is, for what values of CA and CB would it be socially efficient for type A's to learn language B? Now, before you kind of like again see the answer, I encourage you at this point to pause the video and think about it for a bit. Okay, so let's look at it. Now, what is the benefit if type A's were to learn language B? So the benefit is going to come from the fact that you are going to not only have a benefit in terms of being able to speak uh, with more people. So from type A's perspective, each of the 600 are going to be able to speak to 400 other people, right? So this one is the 600 into 400. That is one benefit. But there's also going to be benefit, actually, the externality, if you think about it, from type B as well, because the type B now can also speak with all type A people because type A people know type B's language, right? So that means that this is also the benefit that is accruing to each of the 400 type B native speakers, right? So this is the total social benefit if each of the type A's were to learn language B, right? What is the additional cost? So each of the 600 people have to pay a cost of CA, right? So the total cost is 600 times CA. Okay. Now we want to now compare this situation with what happens if instead type Bs were to kind of learn language A, right? In this case, what would be the increase in benefits? What would be the increase in cost, right? So if all of the type Bs learn language A, right? So that benefits each of the 600 type A speakers because now they can speak with type B, right? So that would be that increase in benefit is 600 multiplied by 400. And it benefits all of the 400 speakers because they can now speak with type A people, right? So that increase in benefit is 400 times 600, right? So this is the total increase in benefit. And if you notice, this is actually the same if all the type A's learned language B. And if the type B's were the ones who were learning, then the total cost would go up by 400 CB, right? Okay, now for it to be socially efficient to type A's to learn language B, two things must hold true. One is that the benefit of doing so must be greater than the cost, right? So that means that 600 multiplied by 400 plus 400 multiplied by 600, this term here has to be more than 600 times CA, which is the cost of learning, right? So if you divide throughout by CA, you end up getting one condition, which is that 800 has to be more than CA. That's one condition. But that's not the only condition, right? Because you could have had this increase in benefit even if all type B's had learned. So you want to make sure that the cost of type A's learning is lower than the cost of type B's learning. And so from there, you end up getting that 600 CA has to also be less than equal to 400 CB. Otherwise, it would have been more efficient for type B's to learn language A rather than type A's to learn language B, right? So 600 CA less than equal to 400 CB gives you CAs less than equal to 2/3 CB. So these are the two conditions that you require in order for this to be the socially efficient case, right? So that's part two. Okay, so let's look at part three. So here the question is, for what values of CA and CB would there be an equilibrium in which the type A's learn language B and the type B's did not learn language A, right? Again, when we say equilibrium, we are thinking of Nash equilibrium, right? So first, again, think about what is the payoff in this case. So if type A's learn language B and type B's did not learn language A, payoff to each type would be, for each A person, this would be 1000 minus CA. Why? Because you are able to speak with not only people of your own language, but you are also able to speak with type B. So that is the 1000, but you have to incur a cost of CA as well, right? So for each of the type A person, the payoff is 1000 minus CA. What about type B? Well, they can now speak with not only themselves, the type B speakers, right, the native speakers, but they can also speak with type A people, right? without incurring the cost. So their payoff is 1,000, right? Now, for this to be an equilibrium, what do we require? We want to make sure that none of the type A people would like to individually deviate, right? So if they individually deviate and decide not to learn the language A, then their payoff is basically going to be given by 600. So we want to make sure that 1,000 minus CA is greater than equal to 600. And so that means that CA is less than equal to 400, right? So that is the condition for this problem. Okay. The next part asks you to compute for what values of CA and CB would there be a Nash equilibrium in which type B's learn language A and the type A's did not learn language B. So this is very similar to part 3. So again, you end up with first calculating the payoff. This would be 1,000 for type A because they don't have to expand the cost of learning language B. But for type B, each of the type B, this would be 1,000 minus CB. And for this to be Nash equilibrium, we require that 1,000 minus CB has to be greater than or equal to 400, which would have been the payoff for a type B person if the type B person had deviated to not learning language A, right? Because then he or she would not have been able to speak with 600 people more, but he would or she would not have to incur the cost as well, right? So that gives you the answer. All right, final question. This is a bit more complex version compared to what we have been doing. Imagine that we have another community, right? And there are 3 linguistic groups in that community. So you have got type A's who speak language A, type B's who speak language B, and type C's who speak language C, right? So each of the 3 different types speak their own language. So there are 600 type A people, 200 type B people, and 200 type C people. And everybody has the same cost C of learning any language other than his or her native tongue. Okay, what's the benefit of learning the other language is that then you can speak to and understand any other person in the community with whom you can converse, and then the benefit is 1 per person. Okay, so the question is, for what values of C would it be true that there is a Nash equilibrium in which nobody learns any language other than their native tongue? But there is also another Nash equilibrium, so 2 Nash equilibrium, right? In which the type B's and C's learn language A, but not type A. Okay, so we want to consider these 2 multiple equilibria holding at the same time. So we want to find out for what values of the parameter this can happen. So let's first look at what happens if nobody learns anyone else's language. So here the payoff is 600, 200, 200. Why? Because there are 600 type A's, so they can only speak with themselves, including themselves. So this is 600 for each of the type A. The payoff for each of the type B is 200. And similarly, the payoff to each of the type C is 200, right? Now, when will this be equilibrium? This will be an equilibrium when nobody would want to unilaterally deviate, right? So suppose one type A person wants to unilaterally deviate and learn, let's say, language B, right? Then this would lead to a payoff of 800 minus C. So the original situation will be an equilibrium if 600 is more than 800 minus C, right? So we require at least C to be greater than equal to 200 from there, right? But you can also do the same analysis from type B's perspective, right? If type B deviates and if he or she were to learn just one language, then that would probably be language A, right? Because then you can speak with 600 more with the same cost, right? So the net benefit would be to go up by 600 minus C. And we want to, if this original thing is an equilibrium, then the 600 minus C has to be negative, right? So then C has to be greater than equal to 600, right? So this is how you can kind of like think about the other cases, but this is basically what you would get. Okay, but remember, we wanted multiple equilibria to be true, right? We also wanted this another equilibrium where you have got type B's and C's learn language A, right? Okay, in that case, what's going to be the case? So each of the type A's are going to get a payoff of 1,000. Why? Because you have got basically now B, C, and A can all communicate with type A people, right? So therefore, you're going to get a payoff of 1,000, and they don't have to incur any cost because B's and C's incurred the cost to learn the language. What about type B? Each of the type B payoffs, that's also going to be 1,000 minus C because now type B's can communicate with all the other 1,000 people, and they just have to incur a cost of C because they learned language A, because now type B and type C can speak in language A as well, right? And similarly, type C also, if they learn language A, there's payoff is going to be 1,000 minus C each, right? Now, when is this going to be an equilibrium? So this will be an equilibrium if none of the types would want to individually deviate, right? So clearly, there's no reason for type A's to deviate, right? The only thing they could have deviated is to learn some other language, but there's no point. They can already speak with everybody. Would type B's want to have deviated? So they could have decided not to learn the language A, right? But in that case, their payoff would have gone down to basically 200. So basically this 1000 minus C has to be greater than equal to 200 for this to be a Nash equilibrium. And there from there you get like C is less than equal to 800, right? So what you get by combining these two things is that if you have got C to be lying between 800 and 600, then it is the case that you end up with two Nash equilibrium, one in which nobody learns any language other than their native tongue, but also a second equilibrium in which basically there is an equilibrium in which type B's answer is learned language, right? So this, I hope, was a good practice to you in terms of recapping concepts from Nash equilibrium, but also in terms of thinking about this network effects that we have been seeing in another context apart from the information technology examples that we have been looking at.